What if the world's greatest wealth isn't stored in banks, but in a place where no one can breathe? Beneath the crushing weight of the oceans, dark rivers, and sunken cities, lie fortunes frozen in time. Gold that cannot be spent, vaults that nature has reclaimed for itself. Before we dive together into this abyss, if the mystery of the unexplored makes your heart race, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your presence here is the oxygen that allows us to bring these stories to the surface and grow our community. If this topic captures your imagination, tell us in the comments, what do you feel when you gaze into the deep sea? Take a deep breath now. We are about to enter zones where money is merely metal, and recovery is impossible. Case 1. Shipwreck vaults and billion-dollar cargoes. For centuries, the horizon was the limit of human ambition, an imaginary line that empires crossed, carrying tons of gold, silver, and precious stones in hulls of wood and iron. But the sea, in its brutal indifference, transformed the glory of these nations into silent graveyards. When we speak of shipwrecks, our minds tend to visualize treasure maps, the romantic adventure of a diver finding a gold coin in the sand. However, the reality is infinitely more complex and darker. We are talking about entire state reserves, war debt payments, and dynastic fortunes that simply vanished in the blink of an eye, swallowed by storms or torpedoes. These vessels, which were once the ultimate symbol of power and geopolitical influence, underwent a radical transformation. They ceased to be transport vehicles and became inviolable vaults, protected by crushing pressure and absolute darkness. Imagine the journey of these ships. They didn't just carry metal, they carried the fate of wars and the stability of national currencies. When they sunk, they took with them the future that money would have bought. Today, sonar and 3D mapping technology allow us to see behind the scenes of this underwater stage with frightening clarity. We see the skeletons of 17th century Spanish galleons and World War II freighters resting side by side in history. But seeing does not mean touching. Most of these riches are found in the abyssal zone, where the pressure is equivalent to having an elephant balanced on the tip of your finger. The environment is so hostile that the mere attempt at recovery requires logistics more complex and costly than many space missions. This is where the adventure narrative collides with the wall of physics and economics. The cost to bring this gold to the surface often exceeds the value of the salvage itself, creating a paradox where wealth exists, is tangible, has a known location, but is economically non-existent. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject and touch upon a hidden truth that few discuss: the legal barrier. Even if we had perfect technology and an infinite budget to descend to these depths, we would face a guardian even fiercer than the ocean. International law. There is a concept called sovereign immunity, which dictates that warships, even after centuries on the seafloor, remain the property of the nation of origin. This generates legal battles that drag on for decades. Treasure hunters spend millions on expeditions, risk lives, and the moment they bring the first gold bar to the surface, they are sued by governments that didn't exist or had already forgotten about that ship. Rulings made in international courts often ordered the treasure returned, or worse, that it remain on the seabed as an untouchable war grave. This is the mindset governing the invisible control of submerged riches. It is preferable for the gold to rot in darkness than to allow it to fall into private hands or destabilize historical claims. The impact of this is that trillions of dollars in material value are effectively locked away, not for lack of maps, but due to excessive bureaucracy and state possessiveness. The revelations emerging from these lawsuits show that the seafloor is the world's largest museum, but also the largest bank with its doors welded shut. Rust consumes the steel, sediments cover the decks, and what remains is silence. The gold, chemically inert, shines in eternal darkness, indifferent to the disputes of men on the surface. It survived the empires that mined it, the captains who transported it, and the companies that tried to rescue it. It is a lesson in humility imposed by nature. Not everything we accumulate truly belongs to us. Often, true wealth lies not in possession, but in the mystery it carries. These natural vaults force us to question our own relationship with money and time. If a fortune cannot be spent, is it still a fortune, or does it become just part of the landscape, like a rock or coral? This doubt permeates the entire history of marine exploration. While the ocean surface is a place of transit and chaos, the bottom is a place of permanence and memory. What falls down there tends to stay there. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is exactly where it should be. If you can imagine the loneliness of these gold bars resting in total darkness, type the word abyss in the comments. I want to know who's visualizing this scenario with me before we continue to places where wealth was unlost by accident, but hidden on purpose. Case 2. Flooded banks and abandoned national vaults. Not all lost wealth rests in the isolation of the open ocean, far from civilization. Sometimes, silence swallows money right in the heart of cities, in places where, until recently, people walked, traded, and built their futures. We are talking about a less discussed, but equally fascinating phenomenon. Vaults that were swallowed not by shipwrecks, but by the relentless advance of water over dry land. Modern history is full of episodes where geography was whether by the fury of natural disasters or the calculating hand of human engineering. Think of the great dams built throughout the 20th century. For electric light to reach the metropolises, entire valleys had to be flooded. Villages, historic towns, and commercial centers were evacuated, often with a haste that didn't allow for the rescue of everything stored behind reinforced steel doors. In these situations, a brutal and irreversible transformation occurs. What was a bustling bank on a Tuesday becomes an underwater ruin on Wednesday. The mindset of someone fleeing an impending flood or a bursting dam is one of immediate survival. Gold, family heirlooms, and bearer bonds become secondary to the preservation of life. And so, when the waters rise and stabilize, hermetically sealed time capsules are created. Unlike ships, which disintegrate in the salt air, these concrete and steel structures in submerged cities resist differently. Bank vaults, designed to be impenetrable to drills and explosives, become ironically efficient at keeping their owners out forever. Water pressure seals the doors with a force no human key can reverse, and silt covers the secrets kept there with a cloak of oblivion. Now I want to go even deeper into the subject and explore the bureaucratic complexity that keeps these riches untouched. When a financial institution is submerged, it isn't just the metal that is lost. It is the identity of ownership. Water dissolves paper, erases ink, and destroys physical records. In a pre-digital era, or in regions where digitization wasn't complete, the destruction of supporting documents means that, even if the vault were recovered, no one would know who the content belongs to. This is an uncomfortable hidden truth. Money only has value if there is a system that recognizes it. Without records, those gold bars and stacks of notes become orphans. Decisions not to recover these assets often come from the insurers and governments themselves. The cost of sending industrial divers into unstable rubble, where buildings can collapse at a touch and visibility is zero, exceeds the insured value. The impact of this is the creation of underwater ghost towns, where wealth exists in a legal and physical limbo. There are reports of divers who have explored cities flooded by dams, and seen, through broken windows, service counters still standing, with rusted cash registers, guarding coins that will never circulate again. It is a visually disturbing journey, seeing the infrastructure of modern capitalism transformed into an artificial freshwater reef. Behind the scenes, families who lost these fortunes are often compensated with nominal values, while the real, tangible value remains down there. Revelations about what was truly left behind are rare, as secrecy protects both the dignity of failed institutions and the security of the site against amateur looters risking their lives on suicide dives. Beyond dams, we have sudden disasters, like tsunamis or levee breaches, which flood entire financial districts in minutes. In these scenarios, recovery focuses on bodies and critical infrastructure, not private deposits. Over time, the mud hardens, access is blocked, and collective memory moves on. The submerged bank becomes a local urban legend, a story grandparents tell but no one dares to verify. Wealth, in this context, becomes part of the geological foundation of the new lake or swamp that is formed. It is proof that our control over material goods is a fragile illusion. It only takes a rise in water levels for private property to return to the domain of the wild. If the image of these silent streets and banks, where only fish enter, caused you any kind of chill or reflection, comment the phrase, "Sunken City" below, so we can mark this moment before we move on to vaults that were not lost by chance, but by war strategy. Case 3. War chests, lost on purpose. War has the singular power to invert human logic, and, with it, the fate of great fortunes. If in the previous cases we observed nature claiming what was rightfully hers, or chance destroying human plans, here we enter a much darker and more calculated territory, the deliberate sacrifice of wealth. During global conflicts, money stops being just an asset and becomes a strategic target, and worse, an unbearable logistical burden. Imagine the abrupt transformation in the mindset of a general or a finance minister who, facing the advance of enemy troops, realizes that his country's gold reserves, accumulated over generations, are about to fall into adversarial hands. In this critical moment, the priority shifts from accumulation to denial. If we can't have this, neither will they. It is under this cold and relentless premise that secret convoys of trains and armored trucks were dispatched in the dead of night, not to save the treasure, but to execute it. This journey into oblivion is paved by desperate decisions made in the backrooms of power, far from public eyes, and, often, without any official record. Deep alpine lakes, coastal caves accessible only by submarines, and flooded mine shafts became the new guardians of financial empires. Unlike accidental shipwrecks, these locations were handpicked for their inaccessibility. Geography was used as a weapon. Crates containing gold bars, stolen art, and military technology prototypes were cast into freezing waters, often accompanied by the bodies of those who transported them, ensuring the secret died with the bearers. The historical impact of these actions is immeasurable, as it created a map of invisible treasures, drawn not with ink, but with whispers and legends that span decades without confirmation. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, and address the layer of danger that protects these intentionally sunken riches. It isn't just about water and depth. Whoever hides a war chest with the intention of perhaps recovering it or ensuring no one else does not leave it unprotected. Declassified intelligence reports and revelations from former officers suggest that many of these sites were booby. The gold wasn't simply thrown away, it was surrounded by explosives, underwater mines, or, what is even more terrifying, mixed with chemical weapon dumps. Barrels of mustard gas or nerve agents rest, corroded by time, alongside crates of platinum. This is the hidden truth that keeps even the most ambitious treasure hunters away. The price to open these vaults could be an environmental disaster or immediate death. Recovery becomes a game of Russian roulette, where the prize might be poisoned. There is also the aspect of legitimacy and historical laundering. Many of these fortunes were the fruit of looting, melted gold from conquered nations, or assets confiscated from war victims. For the perpetrators, sinking this evidence was a way to erase crimes. Leaving the gold at the bottom of a lake is, in a way, keeping history in suspense. If it reappeared, it would bring with it questions that many governments and institutions prefer not to answer. Who are the real owners? Where did this metal come from? To whom did the jewelry belong before being melted into anonymous bars? The silence of the deep offers a convenient amnesty. As long as the treasure remains submerged, it is merely a romantic legend. If brought to the surface, it becomes criminal evidence or a diplomatic nightmare. Therefore, these war chests remain there, not only because they are hard to reach, but because there is a tacit agreement that the world is more stable with them lost. They are monuments to the futility of material conquest. Men killed and died to accumulate this metal, only to be forced in the end to throw it away like garbage, to prevent the enemy from strengthening. It is the supreme irony of greed. Maximum effort resulting in absolute void. What remains are coordinates on burnt maps, and the certainty that, somewhere, in the cold and pressurized darkness, the history of the 20th century is still waiting, preserved in silence, protected by traps that never fully rust. If the idea of treasures protected by military secrets and deadly hazards captured your imagination, write war secret in the comments, so we know you are ready to understand why. Sometimes, modern technology deliberately decides not to rescue what it finds. Case 4. Why some riches remain lost forever. We live in an era of technological arrogance, where humanity believes, almost religiously, that there are no longer any unreachable frontiers. We look at the ocean floor through the high-definition cameras of underwater robots and assume that if we can see it, we can touch it. If we can touch it, we can bring it back. However, the fourth and final scenario of our dive reveals a disconcerting hidden truth. The biggest barrier to recovering fortunes is Unan physics, not engineering, but the deliberate will to leave the past buried. There is a point in the journey of any salvage operation where financial logic collides violently with practical reality. The technology to descend to 4,000 meters exists, yes, but the operational cost of maintaining such a structure in the middle of the ocean fighting currents and pressure creates a financial impact so overwhelming that the numbers simply don't add up. It is here that we witness the transformation in the mindset of those who chase these treasures. The dream of gold gives way to the nightmare of insolvency. But there is something even more complex behind the scenes of these aborted operations. Often, the exact location of a submerged vault is discovered, confirmed, and mapped, only to be immediately abandoned. Why? Because the act of finding triggers a legal storm that can last for generations. Insurers, who paid out claims 100 years ago, suddenly re-emerge from the shadows, brandishing ancient contracts and claiming total possession of the cargo. Governments that did nothing to help in the search invoke cultural heritage laws to confiscate everything. The explorer, the one who invested millions and risked their life, realizes that bringing the treasure to the surface means being sued into bankruptcy. The most rational decision, ironically, becomes silence. The location is erased from public records. Coordinates are locked in safes on dry land, and the ship is left to sleep once again. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, and touch on the issue of market stability and elite control. There is a genuine fear, though rarely admitted, about what would happen if certain quantities of precious metals or historical artifacts flooded the market all at once. Scarcity is what gives gold its value. If tons of lost imperial reserves were suddenly injected into the global economy, the impact on commodity prices could be thus, in closed-door offices in London and New York, silent decisions are made that certain riches are worth more on the seabed as a theoretical asset on a balance sheet than as a physical good in circulation. It is a form of phantom accounting, where value exists but is untouchable. Furthermore, there is the physical and environmental risk, a hidden truth that many prefer to ignore. Many of these vaults are inside structures that have become complex ecological habitats or are in such an advanced state of degradation that the simple touch of a robotic arm could cause a total collapse. Trying to open the safe would destroy the ship, and destroying the ship is, in many cases, profaning a war grave. Ethics mixes with greed. Revelations brought by modern probes show that the hull of an ocean liner or a military freighter is like a house of cards made of rust. The risk of releasing fuel oil, contaminating the ocean, and facing the fury of public opinion makes the project toxic. Therefore, inaccessibility becomes the ultimate protection. The ocean acts as the world's largest bank vault, one that charges no fees, but also allows no withdrawal. The families that once owned these fortunes have died. The companies have gone bankrupt or merged. The empires have fallen. What remains is the pure and simple possession of nature. There is a somber elegance in accepting that not everything belongs to us, that there are doors that should not be opened, and that the mystery is often more valuable than the resolution. The treasure becomes a myth, and myths are immortal, while gold is just metal. Opting not to rescue is, perhaps, the final demonstration of power. Having the ability to take, but choosing to let go. If you agree that sometimes the best choice is to leave the past quiet where it lies, comment below with the phrase "final decision." So we can close this chapter before reflecting on the real meaning of everything we've seen today. We spend our lives believing that wealth must be visible, counted, and spent. But the ocean teaches us a different, humble lesson. There are fortunes that belong only to silence. Deep down, these locked vaults hold not just gold. They hold the memory of empires, mistakes, and secrets that time decided to protect from our greed. Perhaps true value lies not in recovery, but in the respect for what must remain untouched and invisible. If you value this type of content that dives where few dare to go, your subscription is the most important signal that we should continue bringing these stories to the surface. Leave a like if this narrative created a real connection with you today. And so I know who the true explorers are who stayed with me until the very last second. Write the phrase "beyond reach" in the comments. Curiosity doesn't have to stop here.